Hey, how's it going, everybody? We were just having our Thursday Bible reading, and I just wanted to share some insights that we saw today. Um, we were looking in the book of Exodus and reading about, of course, Moses and all the people that had come out of Egypt, and just some interesting things. I think we take the story for granted a lot of time, and we actually go and you read it, and it's pretty enlightening. One of the things that really struck me today was that Moses was leading these people out of Egypt, and the Bible tells us there was 600,000 some plus others that had come out of Egypt. And so they're traveling through this mountainous area and in through the deserts. Very harsh situation. And just think about that for a minute. 600,000 plus people all traveling together. You put that many people in a situation like that, there's got to be some law and order, and there's got to be some standard for control. And it tells us in the book of Exodus that Moses was sitting as a judge over all the people. And whenever there was disputes, people would come to him and he would settle these disputes, acting as a judge. And of course, keep in mind, this is before they even got to Mount Sinai. They were 3 months in the desert before they even got to Mount Sinai. And during that time, Moses was acting as a judge and settling disputes. And it tells us that he was doing that according to God's commands and statutes. So, a lot of times we think of this story where, Mount Sinai was where the law was given. But Exodus 19 reveals that Moses was in fact acting as judge and judging according to God's command and statute before they even got to Mount Sinai. And so we got to think about this for a minute. God was not just revealed to Israel through Moses when they came out of Egypt. God was the God of Israel long before that. You think about that, Jacob, who became Israel, was 430 years earlier than this, and he worshiped God and he honored God. And of course, Isaac, his father, and his grandfather Abraham all worshiped the same God. And so we're talking 600 some years prior to Mount Sinai. Israel, this nation, had been worshiping God and honoring God. Do you think during that time, during that 600 some years, that God did not have any law for that whole time? I find that really hard to believe. And so I think we need to recognize that, in fact, God's law and his order existed long before that. You even look at Jacob, way back in Jacob's time. Jacob says to his family that they need to put away their false idols, and they're going before God and to worship and put away your false idols. Jacob understood that you shouldn't have idols of other gods and you shouldn't worship other gods. His son Joseph, when he was being seduced by Potiphar's wife, he understood that committing adultery was a terrible sin against God. Well, how did he know that? This is 430 some years before Mount Sinai. And so there's a lot of understanding of what coveting meant, about what murder meant, about what stealing meant, about what worshiping other gods meant, about not taking the name of the Lord in vain. They all understood what all that was. Now maybe they had strayed a little bit from it and all those kind of things. That totally could have happened. But it wasn't because there was no law before Mount Sinai. That is absurd to think that. The Bible shows us very clearly that God had a law. God has always had order. He has always had a standard by which he holds his people accountable to. And so we take these things for granted because we don't really go through and actually read the Bible for ourselves. But as we read, we can see clearly that God's law has been around since the beginning, really. And so just wanted to share that with you today, and I hope you'll pick up a Bible and check it out for yourself. All right, peace.